our second segment for today as we find out more about what's happening in Flowers Bank this weekend. It's a very special event, very historic for Belize. And here to tell us more about it, we have Phylicia Pelayo, who is a Senior Research and Education Officer for the Institute for Social and Cultural Research. We have in the middle Clinton Rhaburn, who is the Chairman of the Flowers Bank Village Council. And on the end, we have Myrna Manzanares of the National Kriol Council. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
You look...
I won't, not yet, Miss Myrna. Hold on. Right? So let's start off, I think with this event and with the different forums that have been held, people more and more are understanding the significance of Flowers Bank and how it plays a part in our history. But let's still go through the lesson, Phylicia, and talk about why this is such an important occasion that we know about and how it fits into our history.
Okay, thank you for having us this morning.
Yes.
This Saturday we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Flowers Bank Village Festival. So that's Saturday, June 2nd.
Okay.
And the festival is a bit different from some of the other community festivals that have been going on in the country because it commemorates a very historic event in Belizean history, being the 1st June 1797 public meeting. And it was at this meeting that settlers were asked whether they wanted to stay and defend Belize, and Belize was a settlement at that time, or if they wanted to evacuate. And at that time, there was an impending Spanish invasion. There had actually been word that there was a military force being gathered that would have attacked Belize from the Yucatan area. So some of the factors during that time was that there had been several past attacks by Spanish forces. So we had a small population at that time, and Belize was a fledgling settlement.
Yeah. And the Spaniards were dominant all around us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they had actually been removing some of these British settlements across Central America. So Belize was really one of the last British settlements that was there. So at that time, it was mainly the British population in Belize that had that power to vote at the public meeting, along with a few free blacks and people of color that had wealth and property. They were also allowed to vote. So it really would have meant that a lot of the population would have been the enslaved persons. They would have made up the majority of the population that would have fought in these attacks against the Spanish forces.
So let's just take a step back because we need to understand this. So, it's an important decision to make. Are we going to fight or are we going to flee? And the primary voters were the British, but you also talk of the free blacks. And so there were the colored people who owned property, they could vote. And talk to us about what distinguished the free blacks.
The free blacks, as we say, those were persons who, they weren't enslaved. They had wealth, they had power. The coloreds were persons that were a mixture of the free blacks and of the British settlers.
Yes.
So what's significant here is that at 9 a.m. on June 1st, at the courthouse here in Belize City, we had a meeting whereby people from Flowers Bank, from the River Valley communities, and it was 14 men from these communities. 2 of them were white, the rest were the blacks who traveled to Belize town. And it was their deciding vote because it was a margin. It would have been a tie of 51 to 51.
Yeah,
it was their vote. Yes, it was their vote for us to stay and defend Belize that really changed the course of history.
And
that's why we celebrate
from Dori
down
the Belize River, from Flowers Bank here to Belize, what we know now as Belize City.
Yes.
This is like a blockbuster movie.
I was gonna say, I've always seen this playing out as a movie. We need to work on that. Yeah.
I need to write that play.
Go ahead.
No, but what I wanted to say is that at that time, all of the Spaniards were offering $50 to the black people, the ones of color and the ones that could participate, and even the other ones, $50 to cross over to the Spaniards and to work with them against the British.
That must have been a lot of money in those days.
Of course,
$50, that's a lot of money for 3. And so they did not they said, you know, listen, they already brought over here. We're slaves. Some of them were slaves. Some of them were free, and they sent us over to the Spanish. No, because remember they had taken them to Cuba,
Yes.
and they didn't treat them well in Cuba, and so they said no, and they stayed and they fought with the British.
Can I jump in the deep end right off?
Go right ahead.
We're celebrating the commemoration of this festival 10 years. And the story is almost equivalent to the Alamo of the US, you know, these power stories of bravery, of patriotism, of the essence of what our country is. Is this a timely coincidence that it's at the same time where we're discussing the issue of Guatemala, and the ICJ? Does this festival this year take an added importance, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I have been there now as the chairman for the last 10 years, started this program, and I'm so happy to sit here for the 10th anniversary. And whenever time I spoke, I always try to encourage people to try be a part of this great history. You know, because sometimes when I look around and see what's going on after 10 years, it's quite surprising to me that there must be some other way that we could put people to understand and to move forward to make this thing something more greater, that our children and our children would put it in their mind and say, man, these 14 men, my brother, in those days there was nothing to play with. You get in a dory and you sit down there, you don't have a plastic, even a plastic. These guys will probably get like bonga and things from the trees to maybe shelter the food and even themselves to get here in Belize. And these guys were serious.
Yeah.
So,
That's when men were men.
men. And I have the same attitude that we got to be serious and make this thing something greater for all Belizeans.
You know,
Like Guatemala. Be
it-
serious.
it is one of, and I think that that's the part of the story that's so inspiring. One, it was, it's tied back to the Kriol culture, and I want you
That's
to bring
right.
that in
I agree.
because it was colored people, predominantly colored people, who came down in the Flowers Bank 14, and the commitment and sacrifice that it takes to choose to participate. And the story's always been told that they got there just in a
Nick
nick
of
of time. So who knows what happened on the dory ride down.
That's right.
And so if I were to see a movie, I'd see them fighting elements and animals and who knows what. But it shows a commitment to be able to make a decision and participate in a decision for our country. And I think that's definitely relatable to taking the ICJ issue, the referendum issue about participation by Belizeans for Belize. What's your perspective on this, Ms. Myrna?
My thing is that I remember as a little girl, whoever in Sagastume, coming across the border and telling the people them for, try to get them to go to Guatemala and all of that. And I remember it was the people say, no deal. Me remember, no, ask me how old I am. But I remember that as a child, and I always remember that Guatemala, no. We do not belong to them. And now they want so much of Belize. So, and people are saying, no, we're not going to the ICJ and whatever. But if you look at the history that we have, everything from 1859, every history points out this land was given, this is for Belize. Guatemala, you have no business here. And Guatemala want to get to the seaport, the way, and England do that, They may promise them, and they never get in the sea, get one road to the sea. But I'm saying that we as Belizeans, we have to think if we don't do anything, we're going to continue the same way we have been continuing all year, and Guatemala won't come to check me on the world because they're big and they're strong. So we have to think. We can't just stay here. I gone through that when I'm illegal and not ready for go through it again.
And I think essentially, because I don't want to deflect too much from Flowers Bank, the significance of this, But I think when we look forward towards the referendum, it's about making a decision for your
Exactly.
country. And
That's
that's
right.
fundamentally what the Flowers Bank 14 did at that
Exactly, exactly.
time. Tell me how much of this story resonates with people who live or come from the village.
I don't know. Yeah, you have to look at that too.
Well,
Is it a pride that everybody carries? Is it what is it like?
well, this is what I'm saying. He hadn't grown into most people that these 14 men had done such a great job. You know, people mention that this thing need to be taught in the school, that the children they could understand. Because we are kind of slack with our history, you know. We need to do more. And I will hope that we will do more. Because as I say, those 14 men was serious men. And I talked to the teacher, them let the teacher put some of the children to participate in the actual day of the ceremony and stuff like that, that they may do some little act, you know, comparison to what the 14 men had done, you know. So it is spotting a light, but it is so slowly, you know, that we need to find other ways to get it more brighter.
We need our own Flowers Bank reenactment.
Yeah, that's the.
Very important. This point to the fact we've got a lot of writers now, young writers are coming out, where we could write this story. I promise right now that I will make this. I will write the script and I will write the book for this school. I already did that. That is one of the things. I just came back from Panama with the writers for the Latin America to look at what kind of thing that we can do as writers in our country for our children in the elementary schools. And they don't have the information. High school may have it, but our kids that are growing up, they need to know. So that's one of the things that we could do is to write the Flowers Bank story, and I want to do that as soon as I go home.
On that note also, over the past 10 years, I'll say that there has been more awareness within the community as well as within the River Valley area about becoming acquainted with the heritage of the community and this story. One of the first initiatives was the erection of a historic monument by Dr. Neil Garbott in 2009. And if anybody goes to Flowers Bank, they will actually see that monument there, as well as a summary of the same public meeting. And that's something that's really a pride within the community, I'll say. There's also a community museum that the community members, the village council, that niche got established within the community center there that also tells the story. There's been smaller publications as well that tell the story of the first June meeting. But on what Ms. Myrna was saying, there definitely needs to be more creative mediums in getting the story out to different audiences.
Now, I want to talk about Flowers Bank as it
got
exists.
it right.
I get it right? I got it right. I was talking Spanish this morning. No, I'm talking proper Kriol.
Kriol, that's right.
Proper Kriol.
Proper
Not
Kriol.
proper, you know.
Proper.
All right, can't catch it. Catch what I tell you, all right?
But my family is from a little village on the old northern highway called Santana. And as time goes on, you have a lot of migration. In addition to the migration, you have a lot of movement away from the cultural reality. I mean, yesterday we had the Garifuna Council here, and that was one of the challenges. Could you talk to us specifically about what the intention of having the festival is with the current makeup of the village and what the village naturally loses by being in 2018?
In addition to the historical heritage, the festival also promotes the cultural heritage of the community. And Flowers Bank is a very small community.
How many people? Right.
It's about
130.
Oh, nice.
And the population was larger in the past decades. But it's also a community that's still very rich in the different aspects of its culture. So you'll still find people within the community that tells the Anansi stories, people that are involved in the traditional craftsmanship. Mr. Rhaburn, for example, makes the fly brushes and the kiss kiss.
I don't know why you never
And-
bring it.
And when you go out to the festival on Saturday, you will see those elements up front at the festival.
But the most important thing, speaking as a village man, the most important thing is the kitchen, cooking,
The food.
The fire heart food, yes.
the fire hot food.
That's right.
Is there going to be a lot of that on display? Because I know a lot of game meat is, in those communities, you look forward to not your chicken, but you look forward to.
Depending if you have the permits.
Yes.
Well, we've been always trying to, because people are going out there special to have some
Guanyam.
Tuna.
game meat, And believe me what I'm saying, there are a few that it is limited.
Yeah.
It's not like when I was a small boy, you could probably get pizza, hamadele pizza, give not pizza pikiri, and without even have to buy it.
Yes.
Today you can't even find it to buy in most of the community so that's a problem.
Is it that they're not hunting, or it's just
No, it's
population
regulated now.
I guess
Yeah.
the population is down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And in fact, you can't sell it without a permit.
well,
You shouldn't.
you shouldn't, but you know how it is.
So tough to eat.
I guess
when you cook that early, fry up, so not
the
going to
kuhuna element. Yes, the kuhuna element.
I'm from Malanti, so we got coconut.
So,
But you were saying that they're going to have some limited amount available, right? As a part of the food festival. What else can people expect?
well, there's a lot of things we have in plan. We have the yangote, the squeezing of the cane.
What is
This
the
is-
young?
In the old days, there wasn't no sugar, so these guys they dug a hole in a tree, and they built we will call it a mill, and then they press it, take the juice from the cane, and that's what they use for tea, And we will be having a display at that contest also. We'll be having watermelon eating contest, the coconut huxing contest. We'll be having
Cahoon nut breaking
the
contest.
cahoon nuts breaking contest, the greasy pig
Greasy pig.
catching, and other stuff. You have the children which will be
No greasy pole?
yes, greasy pole, maypole. It's a whole pile of thing going on there.
Traditional games, Ms. Myrna?
Yes.
Traditional games and the traditional game and the storytelling. And right now, I want her to see what she knows about the traditional game. Please stand up for a minute there.
Aha, tell me.
You have to stand
Deal
up.
with Ms. Myrna.
I really can't. I honestly can't stand up right now.
You see? Because we are going like Brock Macachista. You know about that?
Of course I do.
But how to do it nowadays?
Well, listen, we had the Sambai group in our summer fest just last year.
You
and we
did? You had fun, huh? Did you jump that Sambai?
Of course.
Okay, excuse me.
And all the little kids, and we have to say kudos to Emmett and his drumming
Yes,
group.
yes.
Because he had a group of children who were teaching all the other kids
To do
how
it.
to brock makachista
Exactly, the
and also
correct
how
way.
to dance Sambai
Right.
and play. So
There's
it
Brock
is.
Macachista.
Yeah.
There's Outside Jubel, you know that one? You don't know that
You
one.
have to sing no one for me.
Outside Jubel, to the window, outside Jubel,
No, me
to
no know
the
that one.
window, outside Jubel, to the window, tra la 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 la. Then you get your partner. Rise, Jubel, to the window, rise, Jubel. Then the other one that.
Did you know it?
No,
Live.
I'm learning it live. This is what
Then
happens.
the other one that shakalaka Jubel. Then dance, and then the one where I love at the end is the wheel.
Yeah.
And you could go as fast as you can. We got London Bridge. And I brought my traditional game book. It's in there. Where
Yes.
I'm going to show it to you.
And this is one of the things that the Kriol Council offers. And I'm glad that it's going to be a part of the festival as well, which is just having people do traditional games, whether
Exactly.
it's hopscotch or if it's Brock Macachista and several others. What are some of the other games you'll be incorporating at the festival?
Well, we got London Bridge.
Yes.
Well, that's a part of our British heritage. We got London Bridge. Please hand me that book out of my bag.
Go ahead.
So lot of the games that we're going to incorporate, which the kids today, when they do Brock Macachista, they do so. They're not so.
Then that's all instead.
They're breaking their back.
But then, let me say one thing that I want Belizeans to understand. Flowers Bank, the Kriol culture, that is part of the cultural thing in Belize. They were Kriol people, and you have to understand the Belize Kriol are indigenous of what we call Belize. The Mayas are the indigenous of this region. They also helped the British, but they were indigenous of the region. But the Belize Kriol are indigenous of Belize itself. Every other group that came here, they are not indigenous of Belize. They're indigenous of someplace else. And Belizeans have to be proud of the fact that they are Kriol. They lose it, and we don't want them to do that.
That's very interesting because it goes to where I'm sitting here and I'm feeling excited and proud.
I make you excited.
Yes, you make me extremely excited.
Damn.
And I'm also proud because, you know, Belizeans internationally, Ms. Myrna, Mr. Rhaburn, we're losing who we are.
That's right.
We're becoming this photocopy of commercialism. We're wearing, everybody looks alike. And every time we get back to being able to appreciate who we are, and that's why your department is so important to who we are, that it gives us something that we can hold on to. It gives us meaning.
Exactamente.
I want to go, because we're running out of time again, but I want to go to a specific thing. As much as we have these contests, we have the, how do you pronounce it? The cane juicing.
Yangote.
And the coconut huxing competition. Can you talk to us about the value? It's a game, but the value of huxing a lot of coconuts. What was the purpose of value of huxing coconuts?
For me, let me just say, huxing the coconut is so that people can understand the coconut. It's not just there. It's there for a purpose, right? And when you hux the coconut, you know how to do it. Some people don't know how to do it, to hux the coconut. And there's a community thing. Everybody get together and you hux the coconut and it's fun and all of that. When you picnic, then they try hux some. You understand me? And so, doing all of those games Mr. Man talk about, this is where the community spirit comes in. This is where the culture start to emerge, because everywhere they know hux coconut, everywhere they know climb tree, everywhere they know do this. You understand me?
And I think part of the appreciation for the coconut huxing is that you never have 1, 2, 3 aisle. So you had to hux a significant number of coconuts to be able to eat.
Exactly.
It was that. So, and Mr. Rhaburn, I know this is something that you'd probably appreciate, but talk to us about things that we're not appreciating now that you think would help us to live a more wholesome life. These young people, I would have considered myself like on the brink of being one of these young people. Things that we are not appreciating now.
Well,
that the festival, you're hoping that when people go there, they appreciate it more. That they have their children appreciate it more.
Well, tell you the truth, okay. I remember being a small boy in the community.
A few years ago.
We never have refrigerator, we never have nothing, we never have nothing. So all the food we eat are fresh, good food. We used to can the meat, then you smoke it, and that way preserve it to make it last couple days. And that was the best food you could ever eat. And today people don't believe in those kind of food anymore. You go to your farm, you get your potato, you get your cocoa, and you put one dish together, man, look here. It's real. Believe me what I'm telling you. And people even in the community today don't know anything about that.
Young people particularly.
Yeah, don't know anything about that.
But you hold on to that fire hot.
Yes. Yes.
Some things just you won't let go and will not fade. It's important in cultural preservation, and I think that's one of the things that Kevin is talking about. I know I.S.C.R has been working with different communities to maintain the exposure. Young people, by nature, we see different ways of life, we aspire for different ways of life, but what's important is that we know the traditional roots. And I want to ask from the Kriol Council perspective, and even with the community and the organization, how you work to ensure that the younger populations even if they won't go back to husking to make their coconut oil, but they know how.
One of the ways that we're bringing them into the Kriol Council actually is by the drumming, the African drumming. And so the little ones, we train them how to drum. And honey, they just get so involved, you know. So we have quite a number from Hattabale, from Belize City, and we're having a workshop this summer. And they can come and learn how to drum. And that gets them into, and then we also teach them as they're drumming, we do the folk songs and the sambai.
Yeah.
And they love that because it's more, you know, but we have to tell them what is the reality, what sambai is all about. It's a fertility dance.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fertility dance, that's code for something else.
No, but that's what we used to do. The kids used to be playing and adults were not allowed to do it.
Yeah.
You see? And the drumming and all of those things, then we try to teach them the folk songs. These kids don't know the folk songs. And where the folk song originated, why are they there? And folk songs are basically things that are happening within the community. You understand me? And so every village has their own type of folk song. Mr. Man, may they sing one for me this morning?
Oh,
What?
wait,
You've been singing to Miss Myrna?
We
You've
want
been
a
singing to Miss
performance
Myrna.
Oh,
I never hear one. That's the flower.
Well,
Come on.
this is just a little one. Cleto, rub me down and la fiancé bite me. Rub me down. Cleto, rub me down and la fiancé bite me. Rub me down, oh, rub me down. Fiancé bite me, rub me down. Yeah.
Thank you. There you go. And if you go to Flowers Bank Festival, he'll do it on stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get people in, and that's the thing, get people involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, part of the work that we do is working with young people to help them find their role in safeguarding the culture in their communities. So Ms. Myrna touched on the drumming workshops. We've done storytelling workshops as well. And we find that there is this real interest from young people of all ages to learn more about their culture, but you have to make these activities creative.
Yeah.
You have to make them fun. And that's part of what we've been doing. So it's not simply doing a lecture, a history lecture for them. It's getting them involved and having them learn what the steps are to making the drum, starting from when you have to get the materials to the different ways that you play the drum.
Absolutely.
How do you get to a simple question? How do you get to Flowers Bank? I go what direction? Where I know that the road behind there is good. I can tell you that much, but how exactly do I get there? I know I go past up to the Sandil Boom Junction. I go.
That's
Well,
Mr. Clifford to tell you.
But
For
from
you
here
to
I'm
get
lost.
to Flowers Bank from Belize City, you will either take the Northern Highway to Boom Cutoff. You go through Boom, you will cross Moses Creek Bridge, and after crossing Moses Creek Bridge on the right-hand side, you will see signs that tell you that Flowers Bank, you have to go north, and that will take you right to the riverside where Flowers Bank is. And if you're going from the west, you go to Hattieville, you take the road, come back into Boom, and
The bypass.
take the left going past the Moses Creek Bridge, and it will take you to Flowers Bank. The sign will be there.
It's about how many miles out?
Well,
From Belize
it's
City?
maybe about 37 miles. Not too
Not
far.
very far.
Yeah.
Well, I know from the Flowers Bank 14, I could go up the river.
Man, that's
But not in a dory.
Why not? I'm too.
If you're still a bit lost when you get to Muscle Creek Bridge, this year we're installing a new big sign that will show you where Flowers Bank is and also tell you that there's a monument to visit, there's a museum, there's the river, there's a Guhun Isle factory.
Yeah.
So that will be in place by the day of the festival.
Okay. And the festival takes place this
Night.
Saturday.
Yes, it starts at 10,
Okay.
the opening ceremony.
Very important for teachers. Teachers, learn your history so you can teach your kids in the elementary school. Teachers need to understand what all of this is all about. Everybody have to understand that this was the beginning to Belize. Every cultural group at Konya, except for, of course, the Belize Kriol, have to appreciate and don't pretend that it's nothing. Come out, bring your children, teach them about their culture. This is so important.
And for parents, they can take
Bring the
the
kid.
family to Flowers Bank and learn more
Buses.
about the festival.
The buses.
Yeah. When are the buses leaving?
Okay, I don't know when, but Sharon Pitts, they're taking a bus as well as Reverend McGill from their senior citizens are having a bus. So try to find out about those things. Take your picnic there, man. Lad, carry them.
You can dance afterwards.
Well, I would
yes?
Yes, Youth Connection Band.
Wow.
I would like to invite everybody to come to Flowers Bank. Saturday, Flowers Bank, Saturday the 2nd.
Second.
Telling you the truth, Flowers Bank and the monument, we need for people to instill these things in their mind. And at one time I say, come out of Flowers Bank, if they even if they walk on the ground where these 14 men leave from, and that historic day, you know. So we'll be having all kind of eating if you eat and drink and see. So no afraid to come, man, and be a part of this 10th anniversary because it is so special, you know.
And we will also be having giveaways courtesy of our sponsors. So we have Grace Kennedy, we have St. John's Credit Union, we have Digicel that are also on board with us for the festival.
Excellent. Nice. So Flowers Bank Village, June 2nd, which is a Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. Don't miss it. Thank you for coming in. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back in a few. Stay tuned.